A young mother, Emma, flying business class with her child is mocked by wealthy passengers who assume she doesn't belong. Mid-flight, she's revealed to be a high-level international aviation security advisor, leading an investigation into financial crimes. The arrogant passengers who humiliated her, especially Charles, get publicly humbled. In a surprise emotional twist, the captain is revealed to be Emma's long-lost partner and father of her child. Emma leaves with dignity and applause. Cold light spilled across polished marble as passengers drifted through the lounge like perfumed shadows. Soft piano filled the air, glasses chimed, watch faces flashed like tiny suns. The kind of space where money didn't just buy comfort. It defined worth. Emma stood alone near a corner table, her son sleeping on her shoulder, his breath warm against her collarbone. She held him like she held everything in life, steady, quiet, protective. No designer luggage. No tailored blazer. Just a soft gray sweater and a tired smile that suggested long nights and little time for vanity. Nobody stared directly at her. They didn't need to. The glances slid across her like smirks in motion. A tug on her sweater here, a raised brow there. Silent judgment made of silk and champagne bubbles. She shifted her toddler slightly, brushing his hair back. "We'll be okay," she whispered, just a breath. Not to calm him. To steady herself. A flight attendant approached, all smiles and precision posture. "Mrs. Carter?" Emma nodded. "We'll pre-board you shortly," the attendant said gently, like offering mercy instead of protocol. "Thanks," Emma replied, voice steady but small in the cavernous room. Across the lounge, laughter erupted. Charles Davenport, the kind of man who mistook noise for presence, raised another glass. His suit fit like arrogance tailored to fabric. People leaned toward him, orbiting his confidence. He lowered his voice as he looked at Emma, which only made his words louder. "Business class has changed." A low chuckle followed. Someone murmured agreement. One woman didn't even hide it. She glanced at Emma's worn bag and snickered behind her manicured fingers. Emma felt the sting, but didn't flinch. Motherhood had given her thicker skin than wealth ever could. Her son stirred, eyes blinking open. She kissed his forehead. "Airplane time," she whispered. He smiled, half asleep, trusting the world because he trusted her. Boarding began. As Emma rose, a woman in pearls shifted her chair, expression polite yet sharp. A subtle step backward, as though motherhood were contagious. Emma just held her child closer and walked toward the gate, steady steps, soft breathing, a quiet storm in motion. Once on board, she settled into her seat. A window view. Clouds waiting. Judgment followed her like perfume. A glance at her shoes, her bag, her child. But she didn't shrink. She set her son's bear beside him, smoothed his blanket, and exhaled. Peace in a battlefield. The cabin doors sealed. Engines hummed. Seat belts clicked, polished rings catching light. A voice across the aisle scoffed. "Business class, not daycare." Charlie didn't say it loudly. He didn't need to. It drifted through the silence like poison in warm air. Mutters followed. Someone hid a laugh behind a menu. Emma didn't respond. She pressed her lips to her son's hair, eyes softening not from pain but from resolve. The world had always underestimated quiet women. But quiet wasn't weakness. Quiet was preparation. The plane lifted through clouds, leaving the world small beneath it. Passengers settled into curated luxury. Stemware. Linen napkins. Whispered business deals. A floating palace built to keep reality at the door. Emma adjusted her son's seatbelt gently as the aircraft leveled. He giggled, tapping the window. "Are we in the sky?" "We are," she smiled, tucking a curl behind his ear. "Flying high." Charles leaned back, stretching with the entitlement of someone who believed altitude reflected importance. "Shame they let anyone up here now," he murmured, and the man beside him laughed, nodding over his investment portfolio like it certified superiority. Emma ignored them, but the words perched in the air like vultures circling a tired animal. She wasn't tired, though. She was patient. There is a difference. A flight attendant passed, pausing subtly. If you need anything, Mrs. Carter, please call. A small kindness. A flicker of recognition. Emma smiled back. Her son played quietly with a toy plane, its plastic wings chipped from life, not neglect. A symbol of dreams held tight despite turbulence. A group nearby discussed mergers. Stock surges. A yacht club charity gala. But the longer they talked, the more often their attention drifted toward her. Something about confidence and humility unsettled the arrogant. It didn't fit their world map. Emma reached into her bag and pulled out a small, leather-bound notebook. Inside, tucked between pages of handwritten notes, was a photo of a man in uniform holding her shoulders like she was something precious, like the sky belonged to them. She slipped the picture back before memory could break her calm. Her son yawned, leaned into her. She stroked his cheek. Rest. Mama's here. That sentence carried more history than anyone in that cabin could imagine. A soft alert tone chimed from the cockpit. Subtle. Easily dismissed by the untrained. Emma's gaze flicked to the sealed door. A shift in the air. Routine yet not. A pilot's instinct never left the heart, even if life forced one to leave the flight deck. She didn't move. Didn't react. A quiet woman watching the sky. Charles stretched again, pretending not to stare. The pearl necklace lady whispered about service standards declining. Someone else complained about children in premium cabins. Emma kept breathing. Kept her hand over her child's heart. Protection in its simplest, purest form. The clouds outside rolled like whispered warnings. And somewhere behind the cockpit door, someone was calling for her. Not yet aloud. But soon. It began with the soft click of the intercom. Not dramatic. Not theatrical. Just a captain clearing his throat like men do when preparing to change the air in a room. Ladies and gentlemen, calm, measured, professional, if Mrs. Emma Carter is awake, we request her presence near the cockpit. Silence spread like ice cracking beneath expensive shoes. Heads turned. Confusion sharpened into curiosity. Charles froze mid-sip, his smirk caught halfway between confidence and a question he didn't want the answer to. Emma didn't rush. She kissed her son's head, whispering, "I'll be right here." He nodded sleepily, trusting without hesitation. Trust given freely is a crown only the truly strong earn. A flight attendant approached, respectful, posture straight. "Ma'am, we'll watch him for you." Emma rose. No dramatic announcement, no power play. Just grace. Some strength doesn't need to be seen to be felt. As she walked up the aisle, the cabin divided itself. People straightened unconsciously. Some lowered their eyes. Guilt has a weight fancy jewelry can't hide. Charles scoffed loud enough to armor himself. Probably lost her passport or something. No one laughed with him. The curtain to the cockpit opened like a quiet confession. The captain stood waiting, eyes steady, expression guarded but reverent. This wasn't politeness. It was recognition. Emma stepped inside. Curtain closed. Silence reclaimed the cabin like truth settling into place. Whispers started to swirl. Who is she? Why did they call her? She looked normal. Why normal? The wealthy hated mysteries they couldn't price. Meanwhile, in the cockpit, Emma slid on a headset with practiced familiarity. Her fingers moved over controls, scanning screens, voice low and precise. No panic. No hesitation. Just command disguised as calm. Unidentified aircraft approaching Air Corridor 7, the co-pilot whispered. Sweat on his temple. Not danger yet, but the kind pilots feel in bone memory. Emma replied in clipped, coded protocol. Language of authority built from repetition, sacrifice, sleepless nights, and stakes that didn't trend on social platforms. Her presence steadied the cockpit. It always had. Once, a lifetime ago, she belonged here. Back in business class, Charles fidgeted. Anyone can know pilots, he muttered too loud. Probably just airport staff. The lie hung heavy. Nobody grabbed it. Minutes later, Emma returned. She sat. Kissed her son's hair. Pulled the blanket up to his chin as if she hadn't just studied a sky full of engines and passengers who doubted her worth. A pause. Then the captain's voice again. Calm. Clear. Unshakably respectful. Thank you, Mrs. Carter. Your advisement was crucial. The sky went still. This time, nobody dared speak. Except one little boy holding his teddy bear who whispered, perfectly proud, "My mama helps airplanes." And suddenly, nothing about that cabin felt big enough to contain what just shifted. Tension now lived in the spaces where laughter used to. Conversations shrank into nervous silence. Forks paused midair. Wine sat untouched, its arrogance evaporating. Charles tried to reclaim the noise. Titles don't mean anything these days, he said, too loud. Anyone can be called advisor. But his voice trembled at the edges, confidence leaking like a suit losing seams. A flight attendant knelt beside Emma, whispering, "Your son's a sweetheart. A simple kindness. A real one." Emma smiled softly. "He's my whole world." Charles rolled his eyes. "Cute story. Doesn't make you special. The universe has a rhythm for moments like these. It waits." Breath held. Heart coiled. Then the captain emerged. Not rushed. Not dramatic. Command doesn't need theatrics. He scanned the cabin before his gaze found Emma. His expression shifted. Something softened. Something remembered. Passengers leaned forward, starved for answers. He walked to her row. Slow. Intentional. Every step a quiet apology to whoever doubted her. "Mrs. Carter," he said gently, "thank you again. Protocol is stabilizing. Threat neutralized." A ripple through the air. Words like that don't come lightly. Charles swallowed. Threat? He tried to laugh. It came out brittle. The captain ignored him. His eyes stayed on Emma. It's been a long time. Her fingers froze on her son's blanket. A breath she didn't expect lodged in her lungs. "Yes," she whispered. "It has." People stared. Judging, but now uncertain who wore judgment's crown. Her son blinked up. "Mama?" She cupped his cheek. "I'm right here." "You always were," the captain murmured softly. Too soft for most to hear. But not for her. Never for her. The tension thickened into something holy and painful. A history only two hearts understood. Once broken. Once waiting. Still beating. Passengers felt it. Human truth hits harder than humiliation ever could. The captain stepped back, clearing his throat, voice returning to official tone. "I also need to make an announcement regarding a passenger." Eyes flicked to Charles, who stiffened. And the world held still. "Ladies and gentlemen," the captain's voice boomed. No cabin speaker this time, only presence. "We have received updated advisory from international authorities." Phones appeared like reflex. Screens lit up, faces suddenly less confident. "The Davenport Financial Group is now under active investigation for systemic financial fraud." Gasps. A choked laugh somewhere. The sound of pride shattering. Charles froze, laughter dying in his throat. His assistant's phone buzzed violently. She paled. Notifications flashed across screens around them. Headlines. Alerts. Doubt. Someone whispered, "Isn't he Davenport?" "Yes." "Oh my God." Charles stood too fast. "This is a mistake." Emma looked up, steady, gentle even now. Truth isn't a threat when you have nothing to hide. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried the force of every moment she swallowed humiliation with grace. Charles's face crumpled from superiority to something raw. You knew." Emma didn't smile. Power didn't need to gloat. "I didn't need to know. I needed to watch." She glanced down at her son. People reveal themselves. His assistant whispered, horrified, "Everything's gone." She wasn't looking at Charles. She was looking at her future dissolving. Charles stumbled back into his seat. This can't be happening. But it was. Wealth can buy silence, but not immunity from truth. The cabin wasn't hostile now. It was quiet with realization. The same mouths that mocked her now shaped apology without courage to speak it. Then came the moment sharper than judgment, softer than forgiveness. The captain knelt beside Emma and her child, voice breaking just slightly. "It's time," he whispered. "If you'll have us." Emma's throat tightened. 10 years. One child. One sky. One wound never spoken. She placed her hand in his. No flourish. Just truth. The cabin exhaled like it had been holding breath for lifetimes. Landing lights shimmered through the window, city glowing below like constellations fallen to earth. Soon wheels would touch ground, and the world would spin again. But inside that cabin, time moved differently. Emma lifted her son. He wrapped his tiny arms around her neck, sleepy safe, trusting her direction the way only a child can trust a mother who never breaks. Charles stayed silent, staring at his shaking hands. The humiliation wasn't loud now. It was quiet, like truth when it finally settles. Passengers shifted. One woman cleared her throat. "Mrs. Carter, I'm sorry." Her voice trembled. Not rehearsed. Real. Others nodded. A few looked down, unable to meet Emma's gaze. Emma didn't relish their discomfort. Kind hearts don't weaponize victory. She just nodded gently. "We all learn." A simple sentence carrying centuries of dignity. When the plane touched down, people didn't rush to stand. They waited. For her. The woman they misjudged. The mother they dismissed. The strength they underestimated. The captain opened the door, waiting with a humility usually reserved for heroes. Emma walked forward, her son on her hip, not looking back. Some journeys never circle to the same ground. At the exit, he whispered, "I never stopped believing you'd fly again." She met his eyes. Not angry. Not bitter. Just tired hope warming into something alive. "And I never stopped teaching our son the sky belonged to him." Her boy pressed his teddy bear to his chest and smiled up at both of them. "We fly together?" Emotion cracked the captain's stoic composure. "Yes, buddy. Together." They stepped into the jet bridge. Lights washed over them. A story reborn. Quiet power leading the way. A family reforming not with grand declarations, but with presence, trust, and gentle return. Behind them, the passengers sat in silence. No applause needed. Respect doesn't clap. Respect stands still and learns. For anyone ever doubted, underestimated, or judged for being soft in a loud world. There is strength in stillness. Power in quiet. Flight in patience. And sometimes, the sky waits for the ones who learn to rise without needing to be seen.